Garrett issuing a statement this afternoon saying, quote, "Last night I made a terrible mistake. I lost my cool and what I did was selfish and unacceptable. I know that we are all responsible for our actions, and I can only prove my true character through my actions moving forward. I want to apologize to Mason Rudolph, my teammates, our entire organization, our fans, and to the NFL. I know I have to be accountable for what happened, learn from my mistake, and I fully intend to do so." Jeremy Fowler was on the sidelines last night, and he witnessed what happened. He has much more in the aftermath in Cleveland today.
The Browns need to get out of theirs. From Berea, Ohio, Jeremy Fowler, ESPN.
All right, now let's switch to Adam Schefter. So this is a dramatic, still a little vague, all of this year, maybe some of next. Does this get reduced? Ultimately, how many do you think he serves?
Well, Keith, I think that's why the NFL made the announcement as swiftly as it did this morning, while giving itself flexibility. It could see how Myles Garrett reacts. It could see what he says in his meeting with Commissioner Goodell at some point this offseason. They don't have to make that decision the day after the incident happened, when emotions are running high. They can wait, take their time, see how Myles Garrett handles it, and then make a decision over time. And I think that's why the league came down and said, you're done this season, and it could carry into next season, depending on how everything goes.
Yeah, I don't want to mess with everybody in agreement here, unanimity about this, given that they all have pitchforks and torches on this subject. But is the other option, was that considered, give it a day to let everybody cool down a little bit?
I think the league didn't want to do that, Keith. I think the moment this happened, you saw how swiftly it was going back. Earlier this year, when the league doled out the stiffest on-field penalty that we've ever seen to Vontaze Burfict, it came the next morning right after also. There's no need to wait. When you see the tape and you have the facts in front of you. This is a story that's on the lead of Good Morning America. The NFL is not going to wait and let everybody talk about how the league is waiting. The league is going to try to seize the narrative and show that it's being proactive, which is exactly what it did today, Keith.
Well, if it's on Good Morning America, I understand. Okay. Later on SportsCenter, we'll go back to the last helmet swinging incident in the NFL, which was way worse. The punishment was way less. And Adam, will be back with you later on these breaking Colin Kaepernick stories, which are amazing. Many thanks. As I said, the blowback against Garrett is so universal, even the Browns owners joined it. The D and Jimmy Haslam statement in part, "We sincerely apologize to Mason Rudolph and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Myles Garrett has been a good teammate and member of our organization and community for the last 3 years, but his actions last night were completely unacceptable. We understand the consequences from the league for his actions." As to players around the league,
these things, they happen so quick. It's an emotional game, so people play with emotion, and it's a physical sport. So just try to do the best you can do.
What was your reaction when you saw it? That was my reaction. Oh my God!
I mean, right when it happened, I knew that was gonna happen. Like, hey, he's done for the year. Soon as it happened, it's like, well, you can't. It's not even the fact that he hit somebody with his helmet, but it's like he like reaching over people to do it. You know, it's like, yeah, that's just too far. Entirely too far. Unprofessional for real.
If that happened to Carson, how would you have reacted? Probably done the same Pouncey did. I mean, what are you supposed to do? If you don't do anything, it's not going to look good.
Two-time Super Bowl champ Damien Woody joining us now. We just heard reactions from around the league the day after last night. You were on SVP, and you called the actions from Garrett assault. Having some time to think about it, what do you think of the suspensions handed out today?
I think it was fair. I mean, considering that, I always say with the actions that Garrett did, it wasn't part of a football play. Literally, he took off a man's helmet and used it as a weapon. And the league, like Adam said, wanted to seize the narrative. And this was on national television, and this was going to be a big story all day today, which it was. So the league, came about this swiftly. So I agree with the suspension of Myles Garrett and everyone else in this whole thing. I understand with Marquise Pouncey, I would have probably done the same thing, but this is like the letter of the law type of deal.
Same behavior that Pouncey did, right?
Yes, the same thing, because you want to protect your quarterback. But, I mean, rules are rules. You go out there and you're kicking a guy and punching a guy, the league is going to, come down with some type of suspension.
All right, those are the three players involved that were suspended. What are your thoughts about the league's decision to not suspend Mason Rudolph, who was involved in this?
Well, I think he deserves to be suspended as well because he was trying to take off another man's helmet. That's one thing about, when you're in the heat of the moment, and the emotions, or this is an emotional sport, and you're trying to take off another man's helmet, you're clearly escalating something in that particular moment. So I don't think he should be absolved from being having some type of suspension or punishment as well.
And that means he could still play for the Steelers as they face the Browns in a couple games from now. We'll see how this plays out. Thank you, Damien. Of course, much more on this and how this impacts the Browns, the impact of losing Garrett, and how it's going to affect the rest of the season. Look at the numbers. Since entering the league as the #1 overall pick in 2017, Garrett has 30.5 sacks, tied for 4th in the league in that span, as well as ranking top 15 in tackles for loss and pass rush win rate. PTI guys weighing in on the impact and the loss of Myles.
Okay, Frank, Myles Garrett has been suspended for the rest of the season at least. Are the Browns' playoffs hope done, or are they still alive?
I almost think they're going to have to run the table. When you look at their schedule, you look at where they are right now at 4-6. Their offense hasn't been good enough. Here's why I might be a little optimistic, though. Nick Chubb last night rushed for 92 yards. Baker Mayfield, who now is the voice of reason for the Browns, give him a lot of credit for that. No interceptions last night, but Michael, that offense has got to be a lot better.
Yeah, I ain't worried about his voice. I'm worried about his arm and his head at some point from what we've seen this season. Look, Cleveland has Miami at Pittsburgh. That's a loss. That's 1-1 at best. Bengals 2-1 at Cardinals. I'm going to give them a win, although the Cardinals have been playing much, much better. 3-1. Ravens lost 3-2. The Bengals at the Bengals. So let's say they go 4. Let's say they get 4 out of 6.
Yep.
That still only leaves them with 8 wins. They're not vaulting the Raiders, Bills, Colts, Steelers, Titans, and Jaguars. Those are the teams in contention for a wild card. If you leave the Patriots, Ravens, Texans, and Chiefs at the top of their divisions, respectively, as division winners, they're not jumping all those teams. And, Frank, it presumes a certain competence on the level of the Cleveland Browns. And why would I presume that?
And remember this, too, Michael. Week 1, 18 penalties. They lead the league in penalties.
How about that?
They've been an undisciplined team, and we saw it last night. All right, that's it. We're done. Back to you.
Thanks, Frank.